Hi, okay, so welcome to video 2 of Unit 5. Today we are going to be looking at the Age of Enlightenment. So last class we looked at, it was a little bit of an intro to the scientific revolution. We were looking at all of the amazing discoveries that have been made. And so in this one, we're going to look at a revolution of the minds, if you will. So we're going to have some pretty great thinkers that come about as a result. So this era is also referred to as the Age of Reason. Make sure you have that written down, that the Age of Enlightenment is also referred to as the Age of Reason. Okay. There are two different ways that you will see the word enlightenment written. You can see it with a capital E and also with a lowercase e. I want to make sure you understand that enlightenment with a capital E is what we call this movement. When all of these super smart folks start thinking that reason and individualism were more important. We capitalize enlightenment just like we capitalize the civil rights movement. It's a proper noun, therefore we capitalize it. Enlightenment with a lowercase e just means that there is an understanding or that there is knowledge of something. For example, you all became enlightened about the age of absolutism in our last unit. It's defined as a period when people believe they could use reason and science to logically explain human nature, and not just the natural world. This movement began in the 1700s in France, and these ideas and their results have lasted until today. There are two major outcomes you need to know that came about as a result of the Enlightenment. First, there is more religious tolerance. We see here, after France has once again had instances of religious intolerance, think the Edict of Nantes and Huguenots losing freedom of worship. But now in this era, religious tolerance will be valued by folks and is also encouraged by some of the brightest minds of the time. The second outcome of Enlightenment was democratic revolutions around the world. They begin to break out, okay? Now, there are 6 characteristics of Enlightenment that the Virginia Department of Education wants to make sure that you understand. So please make sure you aren't just writing down this characteristic, but also what it means, because you have to understand what it is, okay? All right, here we go. The first one is reason. This is being able to make sense of things with facts, thinking, and using logic, not just believing whatever the church told you to believe. Okay, and we know that that was the common thing to do back in the Renaissance era. They just, whatever the church said, that's what they went with, okay? So now we're in this age of reason. We're thinking for ourselves, not just believing everything that we are told. The second is natural law. Now, natural law assumes that people are basically good at heart. And because people are good at heart, when it comes to economics and politics, politicians are to be trusted. Because after all, politicians are people, and people are good at heart. Okay? Human progress is the third characteristic. So thanks to the scientific approach folks are now taking, people are now more willing to believe that people have the capacity to change for the better. Next characteristic, happiness. And guess what? Happiness is achievable. So remember at the beginning of the year when we were discussing the Renaissance period and how people didn't think it was okay for them to be happy or live a meaningful life. Well, this is not the case anymore. You can now be happy, and that's okay. So it's a good thing to be happy. Our fifth characteristic is liberty. Freedom in speech and religion are going to be areas of many major discussions throughout this time period. And you'll see where not all of the enlightened thinkers agree with each other on some of these common topics. Our last characteristic is humanitarianism. Now, this is understanding that we should be kind and have sympathy for all people. So we start to see groups with varying opinions beginning to occur or come about. And such people are becoming aware, like they start to become aware of anti-war or anti-slavery or anti-religion, okay? Now, you should remember from our unit on absolutism that an absolute ruler is one who has total control over all aspects of society. Now, we have intelligent, very well-educated philosophers who have all of these new ideas, and they don't necessarily support this concept of absolutism. So there's going to be a major clash between the ideas of enlightenment and the ideas of absolutism. And that is where we're going to pick up in our next video. So next video, we are certainly going to be looking at who were some of our MVPs of the Age of Reason or the Enlightenment. We're going to look at some of these philosophers and what their philosophies were, and make some comparisons between them. So I will see you next time.